guys know that everyone who attends this webinar, 2 winners will have the chance to win a D-Link Wi-Fi access point. We'll be sure to notify the recipient by Friday, May 5th, 2023, next week, if you're the 2 lucky winners. If you're on YouTube live broadcast, if you would like to participate in the chance to win the giveaway, or if you have any inquiries, please contact us at solutions@us.dlink. Our contact information will also be available at the end of the presentation. For those who registered via GoToWebinar, we'd love to hear from you during the presentation. If you have any questions, please send them through the question section or the chat, and we'll address your questions at the end of the session. If we can't answer your question during the session, we will follow up after the webinar. Today's webinar will be available on demand after this live session. A link will be sent to all registered attendees. Now, without further ado, I'd like to hand it over to JP.
Thank you very much, Kim. So as Kim mentioned, my name is JP McFarland. I'm a product manager here at D-Link, and I'm very happy to talk to everybody about our Nuclias platform. So what we're going to talk about today is just an introduction to what Nuclias is and what that is for D-Link. Nuclias kind of comes in 2 different pieces. There's a Nuclias Cloud component, which I'll discuss, and then there's also a Nuclias Connect component, which I'll discuss as well, and I'll try to compare and contrast them for those of you that may not be aware of this platform. What we're going to talk about just after that as well is something that our D-Link sales team, our ISE team, our sales engineer team, can help everybody on the call help plan out their network and provide better signal coverage, wireless coverage across their entire property. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up with a little bit of a review and overview of D-Link's new machine-to-machine or M2M wireless solutions. These are primarily cellular-based solutions. So without further ado, let's talk about Nuclias. So Nuclias is a network management platform. It's my nice little title slide here. But it's a network management platform really designed to, address some network challenges. And, I think everybody is, trying to, come to market with different devices and different platforms to help address, challenges such as limited IT resources, more devices ending up on the network. How do I control them? How do I see who's on my network? How do I control what they're doing on my network? How do I monitor, manage? How do I report on that? And then finally, costs are skyrocketing. So, I know everybody's doing it, but in Nuclias, we really try to focus specifically with these 2 platforms, addressing those very standard challenges that every business, I think, operates under. So as I mentioned, Nuclias comes in 2 platforms. We have our Nuclias Cloud platform that is hosted in the cloud. That meaning that every one of our devices, every one of our Nuclias devices connect to a cloud service in order to manage, in order to receive instructions, marching orders, and in order for you to also manage those devices. So Nuclias Cloud is primarily designed for businesses with minimal or lean IT teams. It is designed to be very, very easy to use, very, very easy to deploy. It has essential features for customers that are looking to deploy, guest networks or wireless access with minimal effort or knowledge required in order to get that up and going. Being in the cloud, it also makes deployment super easy. Then we have our on-site, or I like to call it private cloud solution, Nuclias Connect. So the reason why we call this on-site is that this is basically a controller-based or software-based solution to manage your network. So it's designed to be scalable from small businesses right to, actually, both of these platforms are technically scalable from small business right up through enterprise, depending on the application, of course. But it does require a little bit more knowledge of IT and a little bit more knowledge of how to deploy maybe a server or how to log into an IP address and deploy the configurations. It's also designed for users that may not necessarily or are not necessarily comfortable with having data up in the cloud, whether that be logging or SSID information or network passwords and things like that. If you want to keep that data and that logging and everything on site, Nuclias Connect is the option for you. And as I mentioned, because there is a little bit there's a little bit more maintenance on site, Nuclias Connect does require potentially some resources to be able to manage that. But again, overall, both very easy to use, I think, versus traditional or previous iterations of these types of platforms. Very, very easy to use overall. So as I mentioned, so again, just to kind of hammer that home, Nuclias Cloud is two platforms essentially built for two different needs. So this is just a visual representation of what your Nuclias, what you're looking at for Nuclias Cloud. Your devices all communicate with the Nuclias Cloud server that is hosted by D-Link on Amazon Web Services. And then you as a user, when you want to manage that, we will log into our Nuclias and push out configuration or push out information to those devices. Nuclias Connect, being an on-site type solution, is going to require the Nuclias Connect software. We also have a Nuclias Connect hardware, Nuclias Connect controller that I'll talk about a little bit later. To be able to push down and manage those configurations to those devices, whether it be an AP or a switch. Now, with respect to the Nuclias Cloud, though, regardless of whether or not I'm calling it an on-premise solution, we do also offer the ability to log into these devices or this server via our single sign-on. So you can absolutely manage your site while you're on a beach in Aruba, absolutely. Without having to do a complex configuration. Or if you really want, if you are interested in using the cloud, but you're not interested in using somebody else's hosted cloud solution like D-Link, I can certainly also install my Nuclias Connect software on my own personal cloud, whether that's a server that I host, Amazon Web Services, or Azure, or anything like that as well. Okay. So moving on from there, who's Nuclias for? So the question, we talked about ease of use, we've talked about quick to deploy. In terms of the specific verticals, I'd like to again, everybody says anybody can use this, but with respect to certain verticals like SMB or enterprises, that may be interested in scalability. Nuclias does provide scalability options. It's multi-tenant based. Education can take advantage of the centralized management and reporting functions, and also potentially, the ease of deployment for organizations that do have lean IT. And then even in retail and hospitality can take advantage of guest access control that we have built into the Nuclias platform and the captive portal, being able to present a user a web page for authentication. Very, very important in hospitality or potentially retail, accepting terms and conditions, and all that good stuff as well. So Nuclias is really designed, it's really kind of tailor fit for many different verticals. So let's dive into, so that's just an overarching overview of Nuclias. Why don't we dive specifically into Nuclias Cloud? So Nuclias Cloud, as I mentioned as well, I'm going to hammer this home, is 100% cloud-based. Our devices themselves communicate to the Nuclias Cloud servers in the web. It is certainly licensed as well. I just want to mention, I'll talk about licensing in a few moments when we talk about the hardware, but it's 100% cloud-based access points, 100% cloud-based switches, and 100% cloud-based firewall as well. And it's really designed for, again, that ease of use. I don't want that infrastructure. I don't want to host a server. I don't have anywhere to keep this data on site. I don't want to manage. I don't want to monitor. I don't want to maintain any of this stuff. So all of the configuration and marching orders is provided from our hosted cloud server, and it is all driven down to the individual devices, as required. So when we talk about applications, I've kind of hit this a little bit as well multiple times. So Nuclias Cloud, certainly being designed for, retail type chains. I've got 1,000 different stores that all need to provide guest access to my little coffee shop. I want to provide, terms and conditions. Nuclias Cloud is good for that retail type scenario. Branch offices, education, university or higher education as well, hospitality, as I mentioned. And again, all of those particular devices all communicate back to the cloud, and it is managed via the cloud, whether that is one site, 1,000 sites, whether or not I'm an MSP and it's one business or 1,000 different businesses that I am trying to manage. I can do that all from the cloud hosted interface that Nuclias Cloud does provide. So when we talk about why Nuclias Cloud, so some of the great features that Nuclias Cloud kind of brings to the table is zero-touch deployment, which I'll talk about in a minute, unlimited scalability, remote management capabilities, which obviously cloud kind of offers, out of the gates, easier maintenance than typically traditional solutions, multi-tenancy, which I talked about, and we also offer a 99.9% service level agreement for uptime. As I mentioned, this particular Nuclias Cloud is hosted on Amazon Web Services, and so we stand behind that. So just kind of diving into some of these a little bit. So unlimited scalability. When I say unlimited, I mean unlimited. There is no limitation to the number of devices you can add into Nuclias Cloud, whether or not it's 100, 1,000, 100,000. We can scale our servers, and we scale our service to the size of your business. So there is no hard limits. The sky's the limit with the number of devices that you need to manage. So again, whether or not that is one business or 1,000 businesses with 10 access points or switches or firewalls each, we can scale to the size that is required. The next thing I want to talk about is zero-touch deployment. So what's really, really cool about Nuclias Cloud is the fact that I can configure, I can add a device into Nuclias Cloud, into my Nuclias Cloud account, and I can send that device to anywhere I want. I can give it to my grandmother. My grandmother can plug that device in, and as soon as it's plugged in, it automatically contacts the web. It detects, hey, I'm added to JP's account, and it'll automatically provision itself based on the configuration that I have already provided within the Nuclias Cloud system. So what that means is I can centrally configure, I can centrally deploy these devices, and I can send them out to anybody to be able to plug in or deploy. I do not have to necessarily go on site in order to do that. So it's a very, very, very cool, very, very quick in order to deploy these devices. The Nuclias Cloud itself as well, for those of you that are familiar with some of the D-Link switch interfaces and things like that, the Nuclias Cloud interface is very pretty. It's quite intuitive. It provides at least the dashboard, which we're looking at right here. It provides a very quick device overview of what's online, what's offline, who's got warnings, what switches, what firewalls, what access points are online versus offline. I have a nice Google map as well that will show me where those devices are located, what site they're located at, and the pins will change depending on whether or not I need to attend to that area. So whether I've got a couple of access points that have gone down at that remote site, I'll get a nice little red pin. Maybe I'll get an email sent to my inbox that says some devices are down or they haven't communicated. I get some alerts, and I'm able to action on that very quickly. In addition to that as well, the dashboard also does provide quick at-a-glance, which you can't really see from here, but quick at-a-glance information about top devices, top websites, if I've got the firewall, top websites that may have been visited, offending, total throughput via the ports that are running on the switches. So it does provide real-time monitoring and quick at-a-glance information about what's happening directly on your network, so then you can then action that. So also I want to talk about management. So Nuclias Cloud provides rapid management for your devices. And what's really neat about Nuclias Cloud is that for the most part, most devices are managed via a profile. And what's really cool about that is if I've got 1,000 access points that I need to deploy, I can add all of those access points into that profile, or I can apply that profile to all my devices. And again, as soon as I send them out, they get plugged in. They automatically have that configuration. I need to change an SSID. I change the SSID in the profile, and it updates those 1,000 access points immediately, or whenever I want to push that update. So this allows for mass deployment and rapid setting changes. Again, whether or not I've got one access point or 100,000 access points. And this doesn't necessarily always completely applies to access point as well. I know I'm mentioning access points. It's the same goes for switches. So if I want to change a VLAN on my switches, I am able to push out that VLAN change and deploy that to however many switches I wanted to deploy across my network. And again, whether or not that is one site or 1,000 different sites, that Nuclias Connect allows me to push that out very, very easily. Okay. So moving on from there, Monitoring, obviously, we need monitoring. How do we monitor? How do we know it's online? How do we know it's offline? How do we know what clients are connected? Nuclias Connect also, or Nuclias Cloud, excuse me, also provides comprehensive monitoring that allows you to monitor what's going on in your access points, your switches, whether or not ports are up, down, your gateway device or your firewall device, whether or not that's up, down, or what's happening. All the logs are sent to Nuclias Cloud. Change logs are stored within Nuclias Cloud as well, so we can see what configuration changes. So if somebody deployed something that wasn't supposed to be deployed, that broke something, we'd be able to track that back. We can also drill down. We can also upload things like floor plans into Nuclias Cloud. We can drop pins on that floor plan where that device is. So if I have an access point that needs to go get some maintenance, I can see that directly on not only on the Google map, but I can also see that particularly on the floor plan. So there's lots of different ways that we can manage and monitor. Obviously, Nuclias Cloud also brings some troubleshooting tools like remote ping, traceroute, a number of other little simple things, like even remotely blinking the LED to be able to identify which switch in a stack or which switch in a rack I'm trying to manage. There's lots of little things within Nuclias Connect you can take advantage of for monitoring and troubleshooting. I also want to talk about access control. So Nuclias Connect also, or Nuclias, I keep saying Nuclias Connect, I mean Nuclias Cloud. Nuclias Cloud also brings rapid or simple access control to your network. So whether or not, again, I am managing a single site or I am managing multiple sites, multiple locations, I am able to get very, very granular with who is allowed to access that profile, who is allowed to access that particular device, who is allowed to report on that information. So if I have a specific user that is managing, in this case here, store A, I am able to give store A manager access maybe just to the access points at that particular location, to the profile at that particular location, and to any of the devices at that particular location. Or I'm also able to delegate to the store manager B, access to those locations, whether or not that's just, that's admin control, whether or not that's simple reporting. We can get pretty granular with what we're able to do with Nuclias Cloud. So whether or not you want to give that out or you want to keep it all to yourself, you have that option within Nuclias Cloud. The last thing I want to talk about Nuclias Cloud is that there is an app support. Obviously, this is browser-based management, so technically, I'm able to manage this on my phone. I'm able to manage this on my laptop. I'm able to manage this from the Safari browser, technically on my tablet as well. We do also have a native tablet app that specifically is designed for Nuclias Cloud. So if that's part of your purview, that is also available as well. So when we talk about the types of products that are supported on Nuclias Cloud, so we've got indoor access points, outdoor access points, cloud managed switches, and we also have a gateway device currently today, right now. So when we take a look at the access points, we have two Wi-Fi 6 access points. We have the DBA-X2830P. It supports up to 3.6 gigabits a second throughput over the wireless. It is a Wi-Fi 6 access point, as I mentioned. Supports 4x4 MIMO, multi-user MIMO with 4 spatial streams, and supports a 2.5G multi-gig port for uplink to take advantage of some of those faster speeds. We also carry its little brother, the DBA-X1230P. So this supports up to 1.8 gigabits a second throughput and offers a 1 gigabit PoE 802.3 AT port, so PoE plus port to power. Moving on from there, we have our Nuclias Cloud DBA series, or Nuclias Cloud AC access points, legacy access points. So we do continue to carry the DBA-2820P. It supports up to 2.4 gigabits a second. As I mentioned, it's AC or Wi-Fi 5, and supports a single gigabit 802.3 AT PD port for power. So those are the indoor access points that we have right now. In terms of outdoor access points, we have two variants right now. We have the DBA-3620P and the 3621P. The big difference between these guys are essentially the housing. So they're both 1.3 gigabits AC Wave 2 access points. The DBA-3620P supports an IP55 rating, which is pretty good for ingress of water and dust control. But if you need something that's going to be splashed on, that's going to be out in the middle of nowhere, we also offer the DBA-3621P, which supports up to IP67 rating, which will take jets of water directed at it. Other big differences between these two access points: internal access points on the DBA-3620P, external access points on the 3621P, really depending on on the type of application and the type of network you're trying to create. Okay. So switches. So Nuclias Cloud also supports a full family of gigabit switches, anywhere from 10 ports with PoE, all the way up to 48 ports with PoE and everything in between. So whether you need non-PoE switches, a 24-port non-PoE switch to manage desktop computers, we got it. You need a 48-port PoE switch to manage your camera systems, to remotely reboot cameras, we got it. And again, all of this is deployed via Nuclias Cloud and managed by Nuclias Cloud. So again, I need to report on a specific switch. I need to push out a VLAN. I need to push this out to one switch, 1,000 switches. It's all done from the Nuclias Cloud interface. And finally, I want to talk about for at least Nuclias Cloud, I want to talk about the DBG 2000. So the DBG 2000 is our initial, or at least our first gateway for Nuclias Cloud. It supports up to 1.8 gigabits per second throughput, 200 VPN tunnels, 200,000 concurrent VPN sections, and offers concurrent sessions, and supports things like bandwidth management, static and dynamic routing, supports VLAN, application control if we want to block certain applications on the network. It supports web content filtering. If there's certain websites we want to block for the network, we can do that too. And it comes with intrusion protection and prevention as well. This particular DBG 2000 also supports up to 3 configurable WAN ports. So if I need to load balance between any of those devices or any of those ISPs, or I need to set up a failover scenario between at least 3 or up to 3 different ISPs, we can do that directly with the Nuclias Cloud Gateway. Okay. So those are the products. So Nuclias Connect. So Nuclias Connect is very similar to Nuclias Cloud, at least in concept. The interface is a little bit different though. So Nuclias Connect is designed to be more of an on-premise type solution. So again, as I mentioned, I need to install software. There's other vendors out there, which I won't name, that also offer similar solutions that allow you install a software on a PC and you manage your devices directly from either from that server or from that laptop or from wherever. So it's designed to be essentially managed via its software interface. Okay. And it's designed to essentially live on premise, again, unless we want to install that on the cloud, which is fully capable of doing as well. So again, very similar. Why would you choose Nuclias Connect? So Nuclias Connect is intuitive. It's easy to use. We've got advanced reporting. We have all that same stuff that I was mentioning before. I'll let you guys read this when we send out the presentation. But I want to stress that Nuclias Connect is a very easy to use platform designed for on-premise essentially management. When I want to control my data, I want to control the profiles. I do not want to necessarily get into the business of the cloud. So this is why we have this option as well. So as I mentioned, Nuclias Connect is a software controller, but it is also a hardware controller. You see that little box we have at the bottom there, which I'll talk about in a moment. So again, it's a software-based controller that will manage our existing DAP series of access points. So again, much like Nuclias Cloud, it is also multi-tenant, multi-site. So whether or not I can manage this particular site, I can also manage remote sites directly from this Nuclias Connect software as well. Allows you to manage all your devices in one place, whether that currently is access points or switches. And then it also offers things like reporting, reporting management, logging, all that good stuff that you would expect from a management platform. The software itself, the Nuclias Connect software, supports Windows, and we also have a Linux variant as well. If you want to manage this on a Linux server, we do have a Linux install available. What's nice about the Nuclias Connect software, it is also 100% free. So we include the Nuclias Connect software with every one of our DAP series access points. It is also available for download or is available for download on the web. You can download this right now and start managing any of your DAP access points. For any of you out there that may have some DAP access points, you can use the Nuclias Connect software right now to manage your network. We also have the controller, which I'll talk about, kind of the compare and contrast in a moment. But if you do not want to manage, you do not want to host a server, I don't want to install this on my laptop, we have the Nuclias Connect hub there pictured at the bottom to be able to provide that on-premise solution. It's basically a little server box that we pre-install the Nuclias Connect software for you. Okay. So the difference between, this is where I'm going to kind of contrast the Nuclias Connect and Nuclias Cloud, and the reason why you need a little bit more of that IT expertise. It is not necessarily a cloud-based option, so we do not necessarily have zero-touch provisioning on Nuclias Connect. But what we do have is we have a scan and deploy type option. So what Nuclias Connect will allow you to do is, if my server is on site, my access points are on site, I'm able to scan the network directly from Nuclias Connect. It will find all the devices that I have, whether it be a switch, the supported switches or access points, and I can import them directly into Nuclias Connect. So pretty easy, not quite the same as registering on a cloud somewhere and just plugging it in, but it is still quite easy. For remote devices, we also offer the Nuclias Connect app to allow you to go on site if you have to go on, if you're trying to add remote devices, scan and then push out the configuration to those devices so they know where to contact for their marching orders, for their configuration. So still quite easy to be able to add. It's really just a matter of running a wizard. But again, it's not quite the same as zero-touch provisioning. So in terms of configuration, so very similar to Nuclias Cloud, Nuclias Connect offers a profile-based configuration. So again, I can painlessly configure all of my SSIDs, all my VLAN configuration on my APs, my VLAN configuration on my switches, save that in a profile, and then whenever I add a new switch into Nuclias Connect, or add a new access point into Nuclias Connect, it will automatically receive that profile once it's provisioned. So very, very painless, very easy to use. Again, as I make changes to my network profile, I'm able to very rapidly push that out. And again, whether or not that device is on site or across the web somewhere, I'm able to remotely deploy that configuration. So in terms of the dashboard, again, the dashboard's a little bit different from Nuclias Cloud, but it still offers a very intuitive dashboard. And in fact, in some cases, I think this is a little bit maybe even more useful than Nuclias Cloud. So Nuclias Connect offers at-a-glance information and historical information. I don't know if you can really see this here. Historical information about, in this case here, the number of clients on my network versus the average, versus the last hour, versus the high of my network. So I can see, hey, today I'm spiking. I've got a lot of clients connected. I've got a lot of traffic that's all of a sudden spiking. That's way higher than the average. What's going on? And that may prompt, the ability to go out and take a look at what may be happening on the network. Is somebody downloading something? Bandwidth hog is trying to, is taking too much bandwidth, or is something going on? Is somebody hacked into my network, or stolen a password? Somebody's sharing a password. So some of these analytics right on the dashboard allow you to help identify exactly where there may be a problem, or where there may be some need for remediation. So very, very quick at a glance. So we also have a little bit more detailed traffic reporting and analytics. So we can see things like peak network activity across the last 7 days, hourly network activity. Again, this is against average, against the high, top ranking devices, top port utilization, if we're talking about switches, a number of different reports to allow you to make, educated decisions about, things that you may need to do on your network. Okay. So moving on from there. So in terms of, again, this looks very familiar. We just talked about this a moment ago. Nuclias Connect also provides pretty granular, or relatively granular management and control, depending on whether or not I'm setting this up in a multi-site or multi-tenant type solution. I'm able to create different accounts with different privileges for different users. Again, whether or not they've got admin, they just have reporting capability. Whether or not they just have reporting capability, Nuclias Connect allows you to manage that. Okay. So let's just talk about really quickly about hardware. So the Nuclias Connect hardware currently today, and I just say today because we are rapidly developing this Nuclias Connect platform, and it's certainly a stay tuned, because we've got a lot of exciting things that are new exciting products that we want to be adding into Nuclias Connect that we can't just quite talk about today, but I'm very excited. To send out that information when it becomes available. But for right now, let's talk about what's currently supported. So again, hardware, software controller. So Nuclias Connect comes free, as I mentioned, as a software controller to manage your switches or your access points. It is a software base that supports Windows, It also is, we have a Linux variant as well that is able to be downloaded. I put cloud in there as well because, again, as I mentioned, you can install this software on a cloud hosted server. If I want to create a private cloud just for myself or my business, you can certainly do that if that's what you want to accomplish. So versus the Nuclias Connect Hub, as I mentioned, this is a hardware-based solution. You uplink this into your network. You log into it by an IP address, just like any other device that you would on your network, but it has the Nuclias Connect software pre-installed. In terms of device support, this is where the big differentiator is. The Nuclias Connect software supports up to 1,500 devices from a single interface. The Nuclias Connect Hub only supports, and I don't want to say only because 100 is still a pretty good amount, but the Nuclias Connect Hub supports up to 100 devices, and that's between access points or switches. So if I want to rapidly, say, drop one of these Nuclias Connect Hubs, I'm managing 3 different sites or 3 different businesses, I could just drop in those 3 different Nuclias Connect Hubs on each one of those sites, and I can log into them, each one of those businesses or sites, and I can make those changes. Or if I've got a larger network, I can host the Nuclias Connect software at my on-site, at my headquarters, and I'm able to manage then those individual sites because they should be, and they would be part of the same configuration. So in terms of switch support today, Nuclias Connect supports our D-ECS 1210 series. So again, for those of you that already have maybe D-ECS, and again, this is one of the most popular switch families. For those of you that may be familiar with or have the D-ECS 1210 series Rev F, I should stress, in your network, you're able to immediately take advantage of the Nuclias Connect software today, or the Nuclias Connect Hub today for management. The other point I want to note as well is Nuclias Connect, and I think I touched on this. I don't think I added a slide in here, but Nuclias Connect also supports a companion app. And the companion app allows you to remotely monitor your Nuclias Connect servers. Again, it allows me to grab logs, review some of the logging if there is a problem at a remote site. And most importantly, the Nuclias Connect app also allows me to scan and install devices, whether it be access points and then whether that be access points or whatever, on those remote sites. So if I do have a remote site, I can go there directly with the app. I don't have to bring my laptop. I don't have to bring the software over there. I can go on that remote site with the app. I can use that to scan and then automatically upload the configuration to the device. I also want to note as well, there's also a third way that we can add devices into Nuclias Connect, but that's a little bit more complex. So we can talk about that offline if you're interested. So in terms of products, some of the other products, we also have 2 access points currently today, Wi-Fi 6 access points. So much like the Nuclias Cloud, we have the big brother, so the DAP-X2850 supporting up to 3.6 gigabits a second throughput. Offers a 2.5 gig multi-gigabit port to take advantage of some of that throughput, and a gigabit pass-through port if I want to uplink it to another device. These particular devices as well, I want to stress, and I should have stressed prior as well, is they come with everything out of the box that you need to deploy as well. So if I need a mount, I don't need to purchase an extra mount. The mount comes in the box. If I want to mount this on a T-bar ceiling for a drop ceiling in an office environment, it comes with the T-bar clips out of the box. I don't have to purchase anything extra in order to do that. The only thing they don't come with is a power adapter, which obviously we should be powering these via PoE anyway. So the little brother, as I want to mention, is a DAP-X2810 supporting up to 1.8 gigabits a second throughput, a single gigabit PoE plus port, and again, offering some of those same mounting options. Taking a look at the less expensive, the Wi-Fi 5 access points, we still carry the DAP-2682 offering up to 2.3 gigabits a second throughput and 2 gigabit LAN ports. One of them is PoE powered. And then we have I would say our top selling DAP-2610. It's a very cost-effective access point supporting up to 1.3 gigabits a second throughput and powered also via PoE. Okay. For outdoor options, we currently carry the DAP-3666 supporting up to 1.2 gigabits a second throughput. It's IP68 rated, so it's very, very weather resistant. Supporting, I believe it's up to minus 30 Celsius. Sorry, I'm Canadian, so I forgot what the Fahrenheit was. But it supports 2.2 concurrent dual band and supports a gigabit PoE port. Also out of the box, which I didn't mention here, does come with a surface mount and a pole mount as well, allowing you to mount this item on the top of a building or to a wall somewhere. Okay, I think I mentioned this already. So in terms of switch support, the DGS 1210 series supports Nuclias Connect revision F and later. So this you can manage. You can certainly manage these devices on their own, which I'm sure a number of you are already doing. But again, if I have a dedicated DGS, a small network with just the DGS 1210 series, I've got a couple of DAP access points in there. What I'm able to do is I'm able to completely manage them directly from the Nuclias Connect interface. So whether that be one switch or 100 switches, you know, I can do that from Nuclias Connect, report on it, get traffic reports of the top ports, top offenders across my entire network, which you don't really get out of individual or disparate switches. So in terms of support, again, it supports the entire family. So anywhere from the 8-port DGS 1210-10 switch all the way up to the 48-port DGS 1210-52, in this case, the N key, which supports up to 370 watts PoE budget to power those access points or cameras or other devices you may have on the network. Okay. So the last thing I just want to talk about before we, I'm going to hand this over to Mike just for a second, and he'll talk about this a little bit before we continue on with the M2M stuff. We're going to take just a little breather here, and I want to talk to you about the Wi-Fi Planner Pro quickly, and I'll hand it over to Mike. So the Wi-Fi Planner Pro tool is something that D-Link can use to help you deploy and plan out your wireless network. So what we can do is you give D-Link a copy of your floor plan. D-Link will draw in walls. We will draw in where we want the wireless, the wireless access points to broadcast, and we will place those access points in a proposal for you. So we can provide things like heat maps, bill of materials, to allow you to plan early about how we want to deploy, or how you may want to deploy one of our access points on the network. And I'll turn this over to Mike really quick. Michael, you there?
Thank you, JP.
I will make you presenter for a moment so you can show what you would like to show.
All right, thank you, JP. I'm excited to present to you guys today. So just as JP mentioned, D-Link's virtual survey, also known as the Wi-Fi Planner Pro, it's a great tool. And it's a complementary tool for all of North America. This is what we would need from you. So you see here, provide us your floor plan. If you give us your floor plan, whether it's a building or a residence or skyscraper, multi-floor, get us that floor plan. And we would want a scale for that floor plan. If you don't have a scale, we do have a couple of workarounds, but if we had a floor plan and the scale, we could put together a good environment. Now, usually your floor plan will tell you the materials, but if it doesn't provide the materials, we would just need to know the materials of the building. You could contact your account manager or your distribution manager, and we could have a conversation and get all the details that we need. And once we have that, D-Link, free of charge, will put the report together and generate a report. So I just want to briefly kind of go over that today just a bit. This is not a tutorial at all, but it gives you a good idea of what you can provide to your customers in order to win the business. It's very impressive if you hand this to your customer and you're able to give them a good idea of their Wi-Fi coverage. So here's a typical floor plan that we might use. And what I'll do is I'll zoom in just a bit, and I'm going to mouse over here, and you see where I've drawn in the wall. So right now you see that, hey, yeah, that's a concrete wall. And this is important because it's a calculation that the tool does. So if you put in the wrong type of material, it's going to give you the wrong results. So we have a concrete wall here. We have a metal door here. On the interior of the building, we have the drywall. So we just do all that for you, put it all together. and you can tell, you can actually decide which product you're going to use. So you pick the D-Link product. These are our indoor access points. If it's outdoor, you'll pick the outdoor access point that you want to use. And once you pick your access point and place your access point, you could actually run the tool, and what it will do is it will give you that guesstimate, that intelligent estimation of where your coverage is. So you see straight away here that red is, good strong signal. When you get the green or the yellow, it's not bad at all. If you get the blue, you may need to place another AP somewhere. So for example, up here to the upper left, you see it's a weak signal here, and you might decide to put another AP up here. This is a stairwell, so you probably not. Same thing here. So with that information, you can generate a report. So here is where we would generate the report. And what that report shows us is a very professional presentation for your customer. So it's going to give your customer the report, and we'll provide the report to you. And it's going to give you the disclaimers and the assumptions, everything needed to hand to your customer. It will give you a access point bill of materials. So you'll get your access point bill of material. And it will include, just make this larger. There you go, that's our bill of material there. And then from there, it will also give you your heat map. Very nice tool. Did I mention that it's complimentary for all of North America? So contact us and we'll be glad to put this together for you. So give us any questions that you have, and JP, I will hand it back to you.
Thank you very much, Michael. All right. So again, as Michael mentioned, for those of you that have a project, certainly get in contact with the D-Link account manager. We can help get that set up for you. For any end users or anybody that's looking to deploy themselves, we can also certainly help you out as well. So not just necessarily for resellers, but anybody that's looking for a complimentary Wi-Fi planner for their business or their sites, absolutely give us a call. So just really quickly, I also want to talk about this other category, our M2M solutions, our machine-to-machine solutions. It's not Wi-Fi necessarily, but we wanted to talk about this. We wanted to talk about a little bit of this to start getting the word out there that D-Link in North America is now starting to carry our machine-to-machine solutions. So D-Link machine-to-machine solutions, or M2M solutions, are designed to provide connectivity for things like banking and ATM machines, digital signage applications, retail and POS. I'm not going to read this whole slide to you, but it's really designed to add cellular connectivity or provide cellular connectivity backup to to some of your M2M or your machine-to-machine type applications. So whether or not that be digital signage and the like. Soda vending machines and things like that. If I need to get remote access to that for payment processing, I can add one of these M2M devices to the back of that device to facilitate that communication. So I just want to talk about some of these products really quick. So the first thing I want to talk about is our DECS. So much like Nuclias Cloud for our some of our wireless access points and our switches and firewall, we've also got a cloud-based, it is separate, but we also have a cloud-based remote management solution for these M2M devices. So what's really nice about them is if I've got one, I can start with one device, and then if I need to scale up, I can purchase the licenses for DECS to be able to manage the 1,000 individual devices that I have. So it's 100% optional. We don't force you into it like some of our competitors do. But depending on scalability, it may be a nice option to add. So our DECS remote management solution provides a lot of the things that you would expect. Who's online, who's offline. It provides information about the logging. If I need to do remote firmware upgrades, reboot a device because it's not behaving properly, reset a device. because it's not behaving properly. Push out configurations devices, all that good stuff that you would expect from a management platform is available for our M2M solution. In addition to that as well, much like Nuclias Cloud, it is also hosted on Amazon services. So again, scalability isn't necessarily an issue. Uptime, uptime as well. Is very important to us. So we host it on a trusted platform in order to facilitate that for you and your clients. So if we want to talk about the individual devices we have, so the first one I want to talk about the first category I want to talk about is our 4G, 5G, M2M modems. So our 4G, 5G, M2M modems, and I've got a little network diagram in here to kind of show you how we envision, these devices connected. So we have the Ethernet port on that device wired into one of my machines or devices, whether that again be ATM, POS, vending, or kiosk machines, or even potentially a small office if we really need to provide backup for that. And that provides cellular connectivity to a tower. So again, this could be a camera in the bush somewhere, potentially, remote monitors, remote sensors, all of that good stuff. And it allows you to provide cellular connectivity to those devices. This then obviously can be managed via our DEX solution remotely. What's kind of neat about the DWM specifically, 311 that we have in the image here, this device is in particular, which I have on the next slide, is powered via USB. What's nice about that, because it's powered via USB, it's also, you can power it potentially off the device that I'm trying to provide connectivity to. So if I've got an ATM machine with a little usable USB port on that, I could wire that directly into this. I don't need to worry about finding other power options for it. And it will it'll provide that cellular connectivity back to wherever I need it to connect to. So the DWM 311, as I just mentioned, supports LTE up to 150 megabits a second download. It supports a gigabit port, the OpenVPN support as well, and supports a single SIM card slot. Okay, this particular device is also certified on all major carriers, AT&T and Verizon. It's also available for those that from Canada, Rogers, Telus, Bell. It's supported on all of the networks as well. Moving on from there, we also have, and this is more of a project-based model, we don't necessarily have this available on our price book today in Canada or the US, North America, I should say, but we're certainly open to look for opportunities. We have the DWM 311G, so this is the 5G variant of the DWM 311. Supports up to 5G speeds up to 3.4 gigabits a second, so very, very, very fast. In order to take advantage of that, it also includes a 2.5 gig multi-gigabit Ethernet port for uplink into that very fast device that needs to take advantage of those very fast speeds. Offers a single SIM card slot on that particular device. Okay. Just really quickly moving on from there, because I think we're starting to run out of time here. I just want to talk about our 4G, 5G, M2M routers. So they're very similar to the previous modems, but they're going to include other things. They're going to include things like dual SIM. They may also include Wi-Fi support on the devices themselves, and they also offer dual Ethernet ports, which can be configured into a WAN port. So these particular devices can also operate as a router. So what I mean by that is, again, we plug in one of our devices that need to be plugged in, whether or not that's a small office, a digital signage, vending kiosk, POS, blah, blah, blah. We wire that into this particular DWM M2M router. And then what I can do is I can have a wired Ethernet connection to my internet via the WAN ports. I can also back up the cellular. If the physical port ever goes down, I also can provide wireless connectivity. And I say Wi-Fi for maintenance, mostly because the Wi-Fi on the device, it isn't necessarily it's not AX. Wi-Fi 6 capable. It's more designed to take advantage of the LTE type speed, so the 150 megabits download. So we've got two models that we're looking at right now for North America. So it's the DWM 313. It's an LTE router supporting up to 150 megabits a second. It's got a 10100 LAN port on it and a 10100 configurable port, LAN WAN port. So again, I can use this as a traditional wired interface. I can fail over to the cellular. I didn't mention that it also has dual SIM card slots on it, so I can also fail over between those two those two carriers as well, providing ample failover opportunities for this device, for those mission critical applications. Okay. The second device is, again, it's big brother. So it's the DWM330G, supporting up to supporting up to 5G speeds up to 3.4 gigabits a second. We've upgraded the ports on this unit to gigabit LAN and gigabit LAN WAN, selectable LAN WAN. What's also neat about this particular device as well is this also supports, in addition to traditional power options, it also supports PoE/PD, meaning that I can power this device potentially off the network that I'm connecting it to. So if I uplink this into a PoE switch, it will power that device as well, and it will provide that connectivity and failover for whatever little network that I'm trying to create, or whatever device I'm trying to provide connectivity for. The last model I want to talk about is the DWM550. So much like the previous models, it offers dual SIM card support. It also offers a wired WAN support as well. What we've also added onto this particular device is RS-232 and RS-45 support, Modbus support. This is a remote terminal unit for industrial IoT. So if we've got applications where we have legacy IoT with serial connection that I need to bring into the 21st century and provide internet access for, this is the type of device that we can do that with. Okay. So I'm going to stop right here, and I'm going to ask if there's anybody has any questions while we still have some time. Kim, are we there?
Yes, we're here. So right now I'm going to open up the floor. Please send your questions through the question section or the chat. And if we can't address your question during the session because we're running out of time a little bit, we'll follow up after the webinar. I have a few questions in the chat, you guys. The first one is, and I think you already answered it, but I don't know when this was sent out, but do you have an option to administer it via Nuclias Connect mobile app? So I believe the person asked while you were talking about that.
Yeah, so the mobile app right now is only primarily for monitoring, and it's primarily for adding devices to the network. But that's very good feedback. I'll certainly say as well that as I mentioned, the Nuclias Connect is capable. You're capable of logging into Nuclias Connect remotely. I know that may not be necessarily appropriate for a small screen on your phone, but you can certainly log into Nuclias Connect remotely for management. But good feedback, and I hope maybe one day. but for right now, the app is primarily for monitoring and scanning and adding for access points. Perfect.
Another question is which switches support Nuclias Connect?
So today, right now, the D-ECS 1210 series is supported by Nuclias Connect. But again, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of we're working on a lot of new switch support. So it's a stay tuned. We've got a lot of new announcements, this year about additional switch families that are going to be making it into Nuclias Connect. So right now it's the 1210 Rev F and above, but we'll be adding some more very soon.
Great. And then the next question is how much does a virtual site survey cost for your Wi-Fi?
I think Michael already answered this. This is a complimentary.
It's free. It's complimentary. That's a good price.
And then the other question do you have 2 gigabit switches to support the 2 gigabit access points?
2.5 gigabit, the multi-gigabit switches. So I'm gonna defer to my previous answer. Stay tuned. We have some additional stuff in the works. For right now, D-Link certainly carries the D-ECS 1520 series, which supports a couple of multi-gigabit ports. We have the DMS 3130 series, which we just launched, that supports multi-gigabits. In terms of management for Nuclias Connect, stay tuned. So we do have some multi-gigabit switch, but they're not necessarily in Nuclias Connect today.
If we're running out of time, so if we didn't address your question during the session, we'll follow up after the webinar. I'd like to thank everyone for participating, and we truly appreciate your time. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event. And the 2 giveaway winners will be announced via email by Friday, May 5th. Again, if you're on the YouTube live broadcast and if you'd like to participate in the chance to win the Access Point, Nuclias Point Access Point giveaway, or if you have any inquiries, please contact us at solutions@us.dlink.com, which is on the slide. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.